Welcome to Between the Studs, the best LEGO podcast here at Atlanta Brick Co. TV at 9:30s on Friday. Thank you for joining us today. Today we have a really special guest. We have Michelle from Season 2 of LEGO Masters. Hello, hello. How are you doing, Michelle?
I'm great. I'm good. I'm really good. I wore my favorite outfit from the show,
That is awesome. Repping the look, the vibe. That's fantastic. And quick question on that, by the way. So you got to keep several of your outfits from the show?
Yeah, well, most of the stuff that I wore was mine already. So this outfit I designed. Before going on the show, I had reached out to Natalie and I said, hey, what do you think about doing an outfit like covered in like patches and our name and all of that? And she was on board with it. So we each separately searched for patches that kind of represented us. And so, So then we kind of made our own.
That is so cool. So you were coordinating your outfits before going on the show. That's pretty special. And you guys also, I would say, like, they try to give cool looks for each team, but I think that you guys had like one of, if not the coolest looks for, like, you had the really, like, you were looked like you guys were just ready to go at whatever it was. Painting, drywall, Lego, guys were ready. It was great. It was awesome. All those spontaneous questions aside, we've got some other interesting thoughts for you. We'll try and get through a couple of them today. First one I wanted to get, I'm pretty much asking everybody this because it's just a positive general question. What was the best moment for you on LM, Lego Masters? Can you remember a specific instant that really stuck with you? It was like, this is awesome.
Yes. Okay. So I have two. My first one actually happened first, and it was walking onto the set for the first time.
Amazing.
That was just like taking it all in and just realizing that we were actually there. Because I watched season 1 like a gajillion times, and so you see the set and you're very familiar with it, and then you're there, and it's the craziest, like, most wonderful, exciting moment, and you realize that you're really there and you actually have to build, and it and it was really awesome. That was like one of my favorites, and I knew going into it that I just wanted to savor all the firsts, like the first everything. And then the second one was, it had to be the Hat's Incredible win.
Yes, for sure.
Of course, that's going to be a favorite moment, but that was exciting. So going into it, I didn't know anybody. Even when we got there, I didn't know anybody, so I didn't know anybody's talents. And then episode 1 happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I'm here. I am not qualified enough to be here, because everyone was so amazing. And then to like win, like, I never expected it. So that was just one of those, I can't believe this is actually happening. Like, we won something, and like everybody is like amazing. And so it was super special. So
that is really cool. I kind of forgot, but that is also like when you get on set, it is way bigger than it looks on TV. I mean, it looks big and cool on TV, right? They do an amazing job, but it is like jaw-dropping amazing in there. And so definitely like amazing choice for a thing to remember. Like, yeah, that is fantastic. And then I gotta talk about Hat's Incredible for a second, because you guys did such a phenomenal job on your hat, and congratulations on that challenge. People often ask Steven and I what our favorite challenges are, and Steven immediately says puppets. I love puppets. I'm like, that was fun. That was good. But my favorite was the hats challenge, because it was so crazy. It's like something you totally don't expect, and everybody's doing phenomenal hats. And you guys especially. I remember looking over and seeing you doing this asymmetrical, really chic, posh-looking hat. And I'm like, oh man, so totally well-deserved, amazing hat. And one of the best challenges ever in any LEGO Masters ever.
Agreed. I was so excited because going into it, you have like all this, all these ideas of, oh, I wonder what kind of challenge we're going to get, watching other, like Australia's episodes, and you're like, oh, I wonder if we're going to have one of those. And then like, I was just hoping, I'm like, oh, I hope we get like a fashion challenge. Like, I don't know what it would be, but I just hope we get something that's like fashion. And when we did, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And it was just so much fun, like all the behind the scenes stuff. I remember like us practicing our walks, and like you practicing your walk with the book on your head, and then just trying to figure out how that was gonna, play out, how we were gonna walk, and like, keep it on our head, and then
let go.
So it was fun. It was I think it was the most fun for me for sure.
Hmm.
That, and I also the bricking win challenge, that was the most fun for me, like walking in and having,
Oh,
yes.
exactly. Getting blown away.
But when I
Yeah.
think back, I'm like, oh gosh, I love this, and then I'm like, oh no, no wait, I loved that. Oh, well, I loved this one too. It's like hard to like pick like a favorite of like anything, but yeah. So those are my
Exactly.
two favorite moments: the walking in for the first time and just being like in it, like it's all around you. Because seeing it on TV, you only see like like
Yeah.
right in front of you.
Yeah. Exactly. You get
Yeah.
like a small picture of the entire scene, and it's yeah, wow. But
Yeah.
great memories. You're like bringing up stuff that I remember it now that you're talking about it, but it's not like the forefront. So that's great choices there, Michelle. That's awesome. The second question I have for you, we did talk about several challenges already, and I think you probably may have an answer to this. We probably already talked about it, but another question I ask pretty much everybody who's done this so far is, what is the most interesting challenge for you on Lego Masters? And that also includes like Australia international seasons as well as like season one. So what is some of the more interesting challenges that you've seen, and what ones did you like participating in, and which ones did you like think I wish I could have been on that one? What are some of those for you?
Okay, so the most interesting, that's such a hard one because there were so many. And it's like interesting or terrifying. It's like
Yeah.
which one? Because I kind of feel like they go in the same a little bit. I would say, of course, like the hat's incredible. The other one I think that was maybe the most terrifying, like for me, that's interesting, is the cliffhanger one.
Yes. Oof.
And first of all, that was interesting on many levels because first of all, you had like, I think, what was it, nine bricks to attach
Yeah.
to? Was it nine? Yes.
It
Yeah.
was like 8 or 9. It was like, yeah, like there's a few tiny little yellow bricks. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, I remember like seeing that and I was like, oh my goodness, how is this even going, like, how is this even going to happen? And then to go against all the Castle brothers, that was just like, oh my goodness, I cannot, what, I don't even know what to do. I have no
Yep.
idea. I'm at a loss. So,
You guys still
so
did
yeah.
terrific, I gotta say. So your castle was so original and so creative. So even with the dauntingest challenge, you guys did.
It was, and it's funny because when they're telling you all like all the rules and all of this, like I'm just like zoning out, thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to like how can we? And then I thought, okay, so can't build a castle like a traditional castle because that it just didn't seem like something that we could do, and do it well enough, to compete with you guys because you guys are incredible at it. So I remember thinking, oh my goodness, what can we do? Oh, I know, a cardboard castle. And then I just could not wait for them to like, let us like, get to like chatting and then spring that on her and like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, what do you think about doing a cardboard castle? Because I think we can do that and it'll be totally different, nothing like what they're doing, but I
Mhm.
think we can make it like, super fun and very kid-like, which is kind of like what I like to do. I like to do colorful kid stuff and then realistic stuff. So it kind of
Yeah.
works.
I think it was also like you guys had such a unique style for all your challenge entries, and like aside from maybe the hat's incredible, I think that you really captured that childlike imagination and that real fun vibe. And so it was definitely like if you're really not feeling comfortable with the traditional castle and especially how difficult the physical challenges is, at least like you guys, despite all that, you still really were true to yourselves and your entire kind of spirit going in. So it was really it was awesome. It was great. I gotta say, while we're talking about this challenge, my good friend Martin Harris, who's a really notable builder, he's like, if I was the judge, Michelle and Natalie would have made it on, and Mark and Steven would have went home because he loved your build so much. And so it's like, and it's like it was so close. Steven and I had my ready to go speech ready. Like I'm like, oh yeah, we tried our best, but yeah. So it was down to the wire. It's so tough, and it was really cool to see you guys do well, even with like such. I think that was literally like the most difficult challenge, and we were all so tired because you've gone through the entire season pretty much, and so yeah, it was great to share that with you, and you guys did such a great job. You should be so proud. So
Thank you.
just had to say that.
It was incredible to share that with you guys, especially knowing that you guys are the Castle brothers and like all four of you. All
Yep.
four of you now, Castle brothers.
Yeah, well, they're the Castle Bros. We're the former Castle Bros, so it's good.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes, everyone's had that. Well, all four of you have had that title at some point. So
exactly.
it was really cool to see like your castles come together. And first of all, it would have been terrifying just to build a castle on a table next to you guys. But then it was just like, how do you build it? Like that was just like the moment that I was like,
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, super challenging challenge for sure. And I think our season really raised the bar as far as how do you even do that? Because there were so many different physical like motors and hanging bricks and the big fan and all sorts of crazy stuff that you just never even think is possible. But somehow it gets done and you keep going and it's crazy. So
I know it was like every challenge. It's like what?
exactly.
What?
Mind-boggling stuff. Exactly. Alrighty, so we have a few more questions about the season. Oh, so here's a good one. Being on Lego Masters, millions of people see each episode, and even more on streaming afterwards. So you're bound to probably get recognized, especially the closer to Lego you are, like at a Lego store or at a Lego convention or event. So obviously you've been recognized before, I'm guessing. And can you remember any specific examples, especially any unusual or interesting or funny examples of being recognized and interacting with fans?
So okay, so that's kind of like I guess like a hard question a little bit to answer because for the longest time, it was like COVID and I always like masked up while going out. Yes. Yep. So that didn't really happen just kind of like in the wild. Gotcha. But I did do a few like meet and greets and like build events at like the bricks and minifig stores. And that was super fun. When we went to when I was able to go to the finale showing in Utah, it was the coolest thing to like be walking and then having little people say, "Oh my goodness, there she is!" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the she! Like I'm a she! Like there I am!" Like that was just like the craziest thing I never thought in my life that would ever happen to me, and it was just so cool to like know that to somebody you were I don't know, you were just kind of cool.
Exactly. You're basically a hero to little girls watching the show. Literally, it's like you're inspiring people to build. I remember hearing that families would literally have their own Lego Masters challenges right after the show and just have fun building. So it's super cool to literally like inspire the next generation of builders. So
I love that so much, and hearing those stories and talking to families and they tell us like or tell me how like the show has brought their families together, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to be a part of that. Like I get to be a part of that. That's like super special to me because I know for my family that was true when season 1 came out. And then, of course, when season 2 came out, it was just like our family time. We're like, we can't miss an episode. And so we would, like pile into the living room and we'd all watch. And it was something that every single one of us loved to watch. And afterwards, we would talk about it. And we would say if we agreed with the judging or not. And it was just, it was really cool. And just to know that I got to be a part of that, like on this side of it and on that side of it. It's really neat.
Yeah, you guys got to be a big part of it. It's awesome. It's inspirational stuff. It's awesome. So Michelle, you do quite a bit of building. You build mock set of stuff. You love building with Lego. Is there anything Lego related that you learned on the show that you like to apply in your life now? Like, did you learn any techniques or tricks? Anything that comes to mind?
I feel like I was always learning. Like always. I mean, going into it, you have your own things that you typically do, your parts that you typically use and going there and just being, next to people as you're building and just like glancing over and you're like, oh my goodness, that's like incredible. How did you come up with that? And just after all the challenges were done, my favorite part after the challenges were done was like everybody walking around and they're like, okay, that's good. I love that. Oh, wow, how did you do that? Like, that was like my favorite part. But also, aside from like the building, getting home from the show, before going on to the show, my sorting situation was one thing. And then getting home from the show, I feel like the way they sorted and seeing it all like displayed the way that they did it helped me to like sort my stuff at home.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was like, it was a bit overwhelming, going, before going on and even after getting home. But I was like, okay, so they did this, this, and this. And all right, I like that. It just helped me, like, I could see it in my mind, like, remember it from the show and then, implement that at home. So both like building technique and like sorting technique. So I think I came home with a lot of stuff.
I really like that answer. I think that that really is another amazing moment from the show. Once the lights, dim a little bit, the cameras all roll out, we have just a few fleeting moments to walk around and check out everybody else's stuff, and it's awesome. It's always like looking over and seeing what Zach and Wayne or Dave and Richard and everybody's doing. It's like, oh my gosh, that's so original and cool. So just definitely, yeah, you can learn a ton from just seeing what their imagination is being put forth, and it's awesome. I know that one particular thing that I learned was that clear pieces have more clutch power than regular colored pieces. Moto told me that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that before, and now I actually use it in everyday. So little things like that you'll pick up and use later. But I love hearing about your sorting situation too, because it's like Steven and I are still the barbaric color sorters. We just put it in a big tub of red and a big tub of yellow. But they really had a very nice sorting system at the Brick Pit, and so you taking inspiration from that is really cool to hear. So hopefully, I think that it's probably helped you improve at least your efficiency when making creations. I'm guessing, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, anything would have helped, because before, like, it was, they were in like two just giant buckets of just like random parts and pieces. Yeah, that's how it was. So before going on to the show, like that was literally my my system, like, because I share with my kids. So and they are just they're definitely barbaric in that, where we just like throw everything into a bucket, and so before like for all of my submissions and everything, that's just kind of how I built. I was just like, okay, well, let's just see what parts and pieces we have and just kind of randomly pull it out. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I won't be able to use that part because I don't have enough. And so it was, So now I'm like, I feel like because I was on the show, I have to have a better system. I have to like.
You have to improve a little bit. Yeah,
because I was, coming home, I was kind of sad because I didn't have all of these like parts and pieces at my fingertips. I couldn't just go grab, like handfuls of just random like brick and start building. I was like, oh man, I really need some kind of a system for this. So I've spent like, I would say like probably the last year just trying to like, off and on, not like steady, but like off and on, just trying to figure out my system and buying different containers. And then I'm like, okay, well that works. And then, oh, but this works better. So I'm going to just like, scrap that and kind of start over. So it's always, forever evolving my my sorting system.
Exactly. Well, that's super cool to hear. That's awesome. So that's like you like went from just like literally buckets of mixed Lego to having a really cool sorted system inspired by the Brick Pit. That's really cool. That's awesome. Did you do anything to prepare for the show with Natalie? Is there anything that really helped when you guys were going in? I know when you go in and you see season 1 or season 2, whatever the previous season was, you have some expectations, but maybe like a lot of like surprises in store too. So what kind of things did you work on anything beforehand?
Okay, so I did. I tried to prepare beforehand. I was like, okay, I'm going to buy all these different sets and I'm going to build them, like I figured there would be some sort of like Technic stuff. So I tried to like build sets that had like Technic pieces, motor kind of, well, I didn't really do like the motor thing as much, but just like the Technic parts and pieces.
Yeah.
So I did that. I bought them. I put them all together. And then I got there and I was like, I don't remember anything that I just did. I remember nothing. I don't remember anything. I was like, oh my goodness. Because for me, like when I'm building a set, I kind of zone out a little bit, you know, and I'm just like, pop. Okay. Next step.
It's relaxed.
Yes. And I really wish that I would have just spent more time just free building instead of like the sets. But I was trying to learn different technique. I was like, okay, I know that I'm going to be like pushed to like, to do things that I've never done before. So I was trying to do a lot of things that I'd never done before, but it didn't really store in my brain because for me, I guess it doesn't work that way. I'm just like, okay, I did it. Oh, look what I did. But, but then when it came time to try to do it on my own, I was like, what the heck? I don't remember a thing. So yes, I did try to prepare, but it did not really help me.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, it's probably fair to say that the challenges on Lego Masters are going to be more difficult than your average Technic set. So it's completely understandable, I think. But yeah.
I was just trying to figure out how the parts went together because I was like, I don't know. And I even thought, oh, what if we have like a car challenge, Because they did have like a mini car challenge on season 1.
They had a racetrack,
And so I was like, well, maybe they'll have like a car challenge. And so I got the Fast and the Furious car.
Yeah, the Challenger. Yeah.
Yes. And so I started putting that one together. And again, it did not help me, but I tried because I wanted to like learn how the pieces went together because I'd never really worked with it like ever.
Exactly. Get a little bit of familiarity with the pieces and be able to construct things with a little bit with Technic. Yeah. I can completely relate to your not being that familiar with Technic though. Steven and I have done like a handful of things in the past, just like we had a drawbridge that worked. That was about the extent of our knowledge of Technic and motors and all that. So we did not anticipate as much of that kind of use as you guys did. So we were just like having to learn on the fly too, because we didn't do any Technic practice for it. We probably should have followed you guys' advice, at least building some set to get some more familiarity with the connections and the pieces and the pins and all that stuff. So, any advice for the Lego Masters hopefuls who are wanting to apply to future seasons of Lego Masters? Do you have any words of advice as far as just like the casting process, what to do in order to make yourself more Lego Masters ready or appealing? Anything that comes to mind?
What I think when I think about that is I think build a lot. Just build a lot. But not to the point of burnout. Not to the point of burnout, but just build a lot. And then maybe, have a few people suggest different like crazy things that you never would have thought of, like, hey, try to build like this and like maybe time yourself. And because working under the clock was insane.
Yes.
Like insane. So maybe like try a few challenges, and then also don't be discouraged. Like, if you don't get it like the first time, because I applied for season 1 and I didn't get it, and I was really bummed. I was super bummed. But then going in, for the second time, I think I appreciated it even more because I was like, oh my goodness, like. But it was cool though because like season 1, you didn't know what to expect at all.
Nothing.
And then being able to watch season 1 and then go in at season 2, you feel like you have just like a little bit of peek at what could possibly happen. So
exactly. At least know what the challenge is. Like, you're gonna have crazy challenges. You're gonna have week to week. You're gonna have eliminations, things like that. So
I would definitely say build a lot. Just build a lot of different things and get familiar with different parts and pieces. Because like for me, like that's the sets. Like I like building the sets because I like the end result. And I like seeing like the new parts and pieces that are out. And I'm like, oh, how can I use that? Like in a different way. But I do love how the sets turn out. My kids do a lot of the actual set building and I'll watch and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like that. Well, I'm over here building my own things because that's what I like to do the most. So
very cool. Yeah, that's superb advice. Just actually putting bricks together is probably like getting experience building your own creations. Crazy. Yeah, very, very good advice. Solid for sure. All right, and so I have a couple specific questions for you, Michelle, because I follow you on Instagram, and you have some really cool stuff I just wanted to bring up for people who watch the channel might not know about all this stuff. Did you really decorate part of your house in the Toy Story style, and what was that like?
Oh, yes, I did. Okay, so I'm a big Lego fan, love Lego, and I love Disney, Pixar, all of that, and Harry Potter, and, all of those things. And so like I just want to bring that stuff like in my home, and I collect a lot of things. Apparently, I'm realizing that as the years go by, I'm like, oh, I guess I am like a collector, and so I want some place to put it. And so in our last house, we had a Toy Story guest room, like it was like Toy Story themed, and in this house we didn't have like a guest room, and I'm like, oh, where can I put this? And so we landed upon the hallway. We have it just in like a hallway, but I wanted to be able to display all of my collection. And so we put some shelves in there, and I wanted it to look like Andy's room. I decorated it to look like Andy's room, and I love it. And my family, it's so funny. They're like, the hallway is like my favorite room in the house. And I'm like,
so you just hang it out in the hallway. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
But I've always like loved to do that kind of stuff. My kids have had tons of like themed bedrooms. I just like to make things like super like fun for my family, and I like it too. So that doesn't hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're a fan of Toy Story, I mean, why not have a Toy Story hallway? That sounds like a really cool. I mean, it could just be a boring old hallway. Instead, it's one of the favorite rooms of the house. That's so cool.
And it's the first one you see when you come in, because we always enter through our garage. So it's like the one that's right up the garage. It's the first one you see when you come in. So it just like makes you smile when you walk in. You're like, oh, this is so fun. and it's right next to the Lego room. So it's like all this goodness in one area.
Yeah, all the fun in one part of the house. That is cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, very cool. And I gotta say, keep collecting things. It's like that is very fun. I used to collect bottle caps. I collect all sorts of. So there's you just Lego is not the only collectible, although that's probably the coolest one. There's still plenty of other amazing things. So don't ever feel bad about collecting stuff.
I know we collect Harry Potter stuff too. So every time we go to like Universal Studios, we get another wand.
Yeah.
And in our last house, we had stairs. So under the stairs is typically like a storage place for lots of families. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want that. I want like a Harry Potter under the stairs room. So that was like the kids' like reading nook, or I called it my office, because that's where I would go when I was just like hanging out on the phone with like my daughter or something, or my friend. So that was like, it turned into my room. It was originally going to be their room, but it ended up being mine.
Yeah, you took it over in the end. Yeah, that's hilarious. Very cool. Well, I'm glad I asked that question, because that's really fun to hear about. Going off of your love of decorating interior spaces and really embracing that, I couldn't help but notice on your Instagram you have some really cool pictures of life-size Lego furniture objects and interior decorative things, and I actually see them next to you there. Do you want to tell us about some of the things that you've worked on?
So I love to build things out of Lego that kind of fool the eye, where you think it's like a real life object, but it's actually Lego. Yeah. And in this lamp, actually, it is inspired by your guys' last challenge, like the day to night thing. Oh, so I wanted to build something that was like day to night. So in the daytime, it's like a lamp. Mm-hmm. And then at night, there's like lights in here, and this spins. And so you remember on the Greatest Showman when they had that spinning lamp thing?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I wanted it to, so that's kind of what the inspiration for that was this. So when this spins and the light's behind it, then you can kind of get that like shape on the walls.
Yeah, the shining around, almost not like a disco ball, but that kind of, so yeah. Yeah.
So that's what that's for. And then, on the show, we did build the hanging plant, which kind of goes into that sort of category. Yes. Of exactly. Like house, like fooling the eye. It looks like this, but it's actually Lego. I just love that. And I love building. And so I have all of my tools and stuff that I've.
That is cool. Life-size tools. That is, and it's the level. That's so cool. Yeah. And it looks real. Like it on the Zoom camera, you could say, "Oh, I've got my hammer here," and I'd be like, "Oh, look, she's got a hammer." It wouldn't even occur to me it's Lego, but yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, that is so cool. That is awesome.
That's like one of my favorite things to do. And I have like a whole like I guess line, if you will, of like school supplies that I love to like pull my kids and like, hey, can you go grab me that marker or whatever it is? And they're like, oh my goodness, that's Lego. I thought that was a real marker. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? That's so cool, right?
That is cool. I remember seeing some of those make their way onto some of your challenges. So especially the fan one, I think you had some markers and some other stuff going on. So very cool to see that continue even more so after the show. So that's awesome. And really quickly, while we're in the middle of the interview, what's your Instagram handle so people can go like and see your amazing creations?
Okay, the Building Bells.
Perfect. All right, so if you want to see all these life-size Lego creations from Michelle, check it out because they're pretty awesome. I had to interrupt this interview about Lego Masters to talk about what she's working on because it's so cool. So, alrighty, and
I want to show you one other thing that I'm working on, and whether or not it makes it onto the thing. It's real life size. I haven't like posted it yet because I'm waiting on some colored parts to come in.
Okay.
So here you go. Hold on.
I'm very excited to see this now. Okay. Oh my gosh! Is that a Lego chandelier? Is that what that is?
Yes, it is a Lego chandelier. Yes.
If you told me that was a real chandelier, I wouldn't bat an eye. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm taking that one to Brick World Chicago.
And so I'll actually get to see it in person too. That is so cool.
So I'm not sure, like, I had to like glue a little bit of it because I want to hang it, and I'm gonna have it hanging in the room.
Which I was like, right?
I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to glue. But then I was like, well, I want it to be glued because I don't want it to get like, destroyed or fall all over everybody or whatever. So I'm not sure like if they have a way for me to like hang it there. So it may just have to sit on the table, but I'm hoping that I can either figure out a way to hang it or I don't know, or they'll have some way to.
they have really big tripods with a little arm on the top. They're like used in film and photography, so you could probably hang it from that kind of like eye height if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Where's that? Like, where do you get
probably Amazon, but I know there's a lot of film in Georgia. I'll ask and double check and see what I'll message you about that after the interview.
Okay.
But there's got to be a way to display that because it's so cool. So that's awesome.
I'm so excited about it. So here is like this is like just kind of this is my light bulb.
Oh my gosh! It looks like an antique old light. Oh my goodness!
That is.
And I figured these
sick.
parts because they're like space like
Yeah, like lasers. Yeah.
Or no, the lasers, but then these are like those cockpit like
Yeah, the windscreen. Yeah.
windscreen things. Because
Yeah.
I've never used them in my life. And then we had a few of different colors, not the clear ones, and I was like, oh, this could be perfect for a light bulb. So
Very creative parts usage there. That's awesome, Michelle. That's so cool. I'm also like doubly excited because I'll be able to see it in person, be able to study all the little details, and totally understood on the gluing, especially at the connecting point. I think it's probably good for safety to do that. So
yeah, I know. I used those from the bonsai tree. I think they're like quarter curved parts.
The rounded piece. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking at those the other day because I've been wanting to build a chandelier since like the brick hanging challenge. And then I was looking at those parts the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, this could be like perfect. So then I went online and did a brick length order, which Brian has told me how I need to do it more efficiently next time. But because I didn't realize you could use like the wish list part. And so I am learning every day, but I was super excited because it took me like seriously 4 hours to like find all the parts and pieces because I was like, okay, well, I have all the parts and pieces. Now let me try to like a dealer that has like more parts and pieces and
because you need a bunch of different repeated processes for all the lights and the curves and stuff like that. So yeah, wow.
So I'm excited about that one.
I'm excited too. That's going to be awesome. Even from the small picture that we have here, it looks super real too. Oh my gosh, that's so cool, Michelle. All right. So moving on to season 3. So at the time of filming this, we've seen the teaser. Have you seen the teaser video?
I have.
Okay, yes. Very cool. Yes, because I think Moto posted it in the group chat, so we're able to. That's the first place I saw it.
So
that's the first place I saw it too.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because I try to watch Lego YouTube, but I don't get to watch as much as I wish I could. But yeah. So going into that. So first of all, what is your impression of the season so far? What are some of the things that you're thinking you might be seeing going in? What did you see in the teaser that really was interesting?
Okay, so I see that there's like explosions, things blowing up. I saw that,
more of those.
More of that.
Yeah.
I saw that it looks like 12 teams, so same as our season, which I wasn't sure because like I thought like our first episode like with 12 teams just seemed like so like intense. So I wasn't sure if like they would go back to 10 or if they'd stick to 12 or whatever. So I'm like, okay, so they're sticking with 12, which is fun because it's more teams.
There's a good amount of people. So,
yeah. It was a little more chaotic. I feel like our first episode versus like season 1. So
there was a lot of people.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, so there's 12 teams and there's going to be some explosions. And Chris Pratt.
Exactly.
And a dinosaur. I'm like, oh, my kids are like, are you serious?
Yep.
Why couldn't have you been there whenever there was a dinosaur?
I know.
But I guess filming during like COVID, we didn't really.
Yeah, we didn't have as many opportunities for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, but definitely some great observations. Me and Steven were just like, I mean, we loved doing the puppet challenge with Steve Whitmire. He's a really big inspiration to us. But at the same time, I think that's pretty much the only celebrity that we got to actually see. Everyone else was kind of zoomed in, and we may or may not have even seen their faces on the Zoom call. It was like added in later. Being able to have Chris Pratt on set is like really special, and I'm going to be excited to see it, but also like pretty jealous as well. So I can completely understand. It's like, why couldn't he do the dinosaur challenge?
I know. Okay, so for Steven, because I remember he was very excited about the puppet. So which would he have preferred, Chris Pratt or?
I I don't know. I don't know where he'd probably be like so split on that he would like his head would explode.
But
I
yeah,
remember like the level of excitement that came out of him when he found out. He was just like, oh my goodness, like he was
yeah,
like so excited. I didn't recognize him at first, and it was Steven that was like, oh my gosh, do you know who that is,
yeah.
and,
Well, once
and
we
two,
heard the name, yeah,
right, and two, because he was kind of like down and you couldn't really see him because we were
yeah, he's down beneath the table. Yeah,
nature of the work. But yeah, so when he was excited, I was like, oh my gosh, like but I know that his excitement was like pretty intense over that. So
yeah, I probably would say Chris Pratt by like 10-15% more because I really loved the original Jurassic World movie, and when he was like facing off against the raptors, and that tie-in with the dinosaurs is so cool. So okay, here's a question I asked Brian and Lauren. If you got to pick another celebrity to be on the show, which one would you want to see? And Lego Masters in general, maybe not season 3, but what celebrity would you love to see on the show?
Okay, so that's such a good question. I actually thought that Cam from Modern Family was going to be possibly a host on Lego Masters because I think it was like Endemol Shine's Instagram page. I saw his picture along with Will Arnett's picture for like Masters hosts. And I was like, oh my goodness, is he going to be a host of Lego Masters too? Turns out he's the host of Domino Masters. Yeah. But it would be so cool if he made an appearance on Lego Masters. Like, I adore him. I adored him in Modern Family. So that would be really cool to see.
That would. And it's yes, exactly. Very jealous, of course. But yeah, that would actually, I think that's like within the realm of possibility too, because it's like Domino Masters and Lego Masters, the same production behind it. So it's like he could easily show up on an episode and just be saying, "Oh, this isn't as cool as Domino Masters." Like, you could totally see him pop up at some point. That's really cool.
Actually, I think it was on Lego Masters Instagram page, if I'm thinking about it now. I think it was on Lego Masters Instagram page that it was like Meet the Masters or something. And I was like, what? So, who knows? Maybe that'll happen.
I wouldn't be that surprised. That's a really interesting, celebrity to mention because it's like, you think about, the name brand movie celebrities, but if you think about it, he's actually working closely with the production already. They could just text him and have him come up. So season 1 is pretty fair to say was mostly story-driven challenges and very creative and artsy, and there was some technical stuff, but it was mostly about what's the story, as Amy likes to say. And but season 2 was much more technical, a lot of motors, and we had to survive all these crazy things. But going into season 3, what kind of challenges do you expect to see? Do you expect to see more like season 1 or season 2, or kind of a hybrid between the two vibes?
I really hope it's a hybrid. I really hope it's just like a mix of both because I love both. I think I'd prefer the storytelling a little bit more. I prefer the blowing up of stuff less, but I know a lot of people love the blowing up. Like my kids love it. But I like to see it and admire it and just like take it all in. And like the blowing up part is not as much fun for me. I don't know, because like when I build something, I want it to stay forever unless I rebuild it and make it better. But I grow emotionally attached to things. So like I was telling Brian, I think the other day, whenever his frog blew up, it made me sad. It was cool, but it made me sad because I was like, oh my gosh, that was like I just remember looking up that episode and like, who built that frog? That's like incredible, because you're like in your own zone and then you look up and you're like, how did that happen? That's like amazing. Exactly. And just seeing it blown up, I was like, aw, but it was so lovely.
I know, it was adorable. It was, all these things, it's a lot of destruction, a lot of physical. It's more fun to watch than it is to build sometimes. When you're like thinking about how that fan is gonna rip your beautiful build apart, you're just like, ah.
I know. I loved our windmill build. I just loved like the toy box and all the toys and all of that. And I was like, oh, I just love it so much. And then it's like ripped to shreds from the fan. So, so like for me, like it wasn't as much fun to watch as maybe like my kids at home. They're like, oh, that's so cool. And I'm like, oh, but look at all the work that went into that.
That's 14 hours. Yeah. gone.
Oh, so much work. But so I'm hoping like maybe like a little bit more storytelling and less destruction. But I don't know that that's going to happen because I think like generally speaking, people like the, you know, like something, you know, epic to happen at the end of, you know, at the end of the build. So.
Exactly. Like the kids that will do meet and greets, and the little kids will ask them, "What's their favorite episode?" They're like, "Oh, the tower shake or the explosions." That's like predominantly their favorite ones, even though they like the other ones. But it's like to get the youth interests up, I think those really fun, destructive, the more action that's going on, the kids love it. So yeah, I think we'll definitely see. Well, obviously we saw the teasers.
And whenever I ask the kids, they always like the demolition derby challenge.
Yeah, that one too. And
they like the sunshine wagon going over the edge. That's what they like.
Best moment of season 2. I swear by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I told Caleb and Jacob, we were like, it was like after that had happened. One day and we're like, this is going to be like the it moment for season 2. This is like the moment that people are going to remember.
They do.
Because just, you know, like one of those, oh my goodness. And then, you know.
Drop. Yeah.
Yes.
So one more question. This one is actually unique. I don't think I've asked anyone else this, but so in our season, they actually said, first of all, there's a golden brick, and if you win a challenge, you get to hold it. But in our season, they had a disclaimer that there could be more than one golden brick in circulation. So, like, at some point, they may release another second golden brick. Do you think that there's going to be any differences with how the golden brick is used or how it's presented? Do you think there'll be more than one on the show at one time?
What do you think might happen?
That's interesting. That's an interesting question. I'm going to say, I think I'm going to throw it out there. I think there'll probably be 2 in circulation at some point during this season.
Wow, I hope so.
Only because, you know, with each season, I feel like it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so, like, what would make it bigger than, you know, 1 golden brick would be 2 golden bricks, you know? Exactly. I don't know. I'm thinking that, you know, I actually forgot that was even like a thing during our season. But and that never actually happened. So I feel like maybe it'll happen in season 3. I'm thinking it probably will. I mean, because, you know, I feel like it just, everything just gets bigger, you know? So that would be.
It's constantly upping itself.
Yeah. So.
Yes.
I know in Australia they also did a platinum brick, which I don't know the full specifics of that, but they were doing kind of different takes on things too. So very interesting. But yeah, that's all the questions I have for today. It's been fantastic chatting with you, Michelle. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to talk about LEGO Masters. Thank you for sharing all those really cool builds, and can't wait to see you at Brickworld Chicago.
I'm so excited. But before we go, I wanted to say, because I haven't actually talked to you, I want to say congratulations on your win.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Talking to, like, you know, one of the like LEGO Master winners. So it's like, you know, an honor for me. And I'm so excited to like see you in person and see what you guys see the builds that you guys are bringing.
We got a few coming up. It'll be great. Yep. Exactly.
I'm almost finished with my car. So and it's funny because I'm kind of attached to it. So I'm like, oh man, I hope it doesn't get destroyed too bad.
Ours too. We're like, we're going to lose some fenders, I think, but hopefully we'll rebuild it afterwards at least. But hopefully not too much destruction.
But it's built much better than the original. And it's only like, it's not anything really, doesn't look anything like the original, but it's still like unicorn like inspired. So I wanted to stick with that. But our car on the show was very fragile. Very fragile.
Ours was too. We know.
I did a lot of time spinning around in circles over here by myself because I was terrified that it was going to get destroyed.
I feel like you guys outlasted us by a few cars. So, I mean, you guys did pretty good for under the circumstances. Those chassis were not aligned correctly. So, all that lovely circumstances of building. But yeah, and then so great chatting with you, Michelle. Well, thank you for being on the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Between the Studs. Don't forget to hit the like, comment, and subscribe buttons on your way out. It sure helps the algorithm. And we'll have so much more LEGO Masters coming up really soon because the premiere is coming up very quickly. So we'll see you then. Thanks a bunch. Quick editor's note, we now know that LEGO Masters Season 3 is being postponed to the fall, so we'll get back to our regular LEGO programming right after this. Thanks, guys. Lego Masters Season 3 is going to be postponed till the fall, so you're going to get back to our regular... Why is it so hard? Okay.